Hi, I'm Dave Roberts and this is Angling Escapades. Hello and welcome to Angling Escapades, and you join me once again on the River Wye. And you may remember a few weeks ago we did our Ice Road Chubbers video, and we fished a swim just down there. Now I came with all good intentions today to fish that swim again and fish it properly, or what I class properly, you know, set myself up and just see what that swim was worth, because that day I caught 4 chub out of it in quite quick succession, and on one of the coldest days of the year. So I figured there must be a, you know, in the winter, if they're there in the winter, there must be a shoal of chub there all the time through the winter. So I wanted to come and have a look at what it's worth. I've actually come down today and it doesn't look quite as good as I thought, to be honest. It's lost, you know, we're another sort of just under a foot lower than we were that day, and it makes all the difference up here. You know, on the middle river, half a foot, 2 foot, I probably wouldn't even blink. But up here it does. It just, when it loses that amount of water, you can see the bottom in places you couldn't see it before, and it just didn't feel right down there today. So what I thought I'd do is I've come above it. I've probably come about 50 or 60 yards above it, where I know there's some depth down the middle here. Not a lot, but just a bit where I feel the fish would be, they're either going to be more settled here, or if they are still down there, they'll come up and find the feed. But I just didn't feel right going right down there. So what I've done, just grabbing a couple of hours this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon. I mean, back then it was freezing cold, but now it's like, with that sun up, I bet it's close to double figures. Water's still cold, probably only, you know, it was only the first night last night that we haven't had a frost in 2 weeks, so probably still only 4 or 5 degrees, but conditions feel good, you know, and I feel a lot warmer than I have in recent weeks. So all I'm going to do, and what I want to show you today as well, is hopefully, if there's fish here, just how simple winter fishing can be. You know, how you can, you know, it's hard to get motivated in winter sometimes to go out and you know, to fish and to get ready for a fishing trip. But you know, all I've done today is grabbed out a few hours spare, so I've just grabbed bait out of the fridge. I had some bronze maggots. These are varying, you know, some of them are maybe 3 weeks old, some of them were last week's. You know, I just keep, as long as you've got a bait fridge, you can just keep recycling that bait. So I've got about 3 pints of maggots there. That's all I'm going to feed, and I'm just going to feed, you know, pretty much a line. I'm going to keep it very simple. A line where I sort of think down the middle, well, not even down the middle, just over a third, I would have thought. And I've set up 2 rods to cover this today. I've set up a Waggler, just a straightforward Waggler, which I'll show you now. Just put a bit of bait out there, get them ready, hopefully. So I've got, this is a DH truncheon in 3 swan, and I've got that set up. I've got 2.5 swan around, or you know, 2 swan and an A around the float. And then coming down, I've got 2 number 8s together, 2 number 8s together, 2 number 8s together, and a number 8 on its own. So basically like 3 number 6 and number 8. Now, we do get carried away a little bit in winter of sort of, you know, dragging line on the bottom and fishing lots of, on Wagglers, fishing lots of weight down. But this is only shallow here, and really all I'm looking to do is to get my hook bait travelling through at, you know, with those maggots that I'm loose feeding. So I don't need any great, you know, don't need to get it down. I don't need to drag it along the bottom. I literally just need to trundle it through with that trailer bait. So that's, you know, fairly standard stuff. 14, I've got both rods are 14-foot rods. I've got a stick float set up as well, which I'll come on to. But both 14-foot rods, both with 0.20 mainline, 5-pound mainline. On the Waggler I've gone direct straight through to a size 14. And on the stick I have got a hook length on that, because on that I'm more likely to be tripping bottom a little bit more and maybe get snagged up. So I've got an 0.15 bottom and a 13 hook on there. And on the stick float I've got, just to show you, I've got a string of shots, you know, usual sort of string, but it's an 8 number 4 stick float. It's a Premier Woody's Premier Dome. I've just got a string of shot from halfway down, just number 8s, and I'll be flicking that out there. The only thing that might stop, there's a bit of a downstream wind today. It just keeps getting up and down. If the wind drops, that might be good presentation on that, but I think it's going to be a Waggler day. But I've got that as backup if I need. So that's that really. So really, you know, if the fish are here, I don't think it will take them long to find the feed. So like I say, just feed in sort of 20 or 30 maggots every cast. So let's start on the Waggler and let's see what happens. I'm guessing the depth a little bit. I'm probably over depth there, but we'll see. We can always shallow if it starts dragging under. And all I've got, I've got size 14. I'm direct on this one, so size 14 animal spade. You know, big hook because it's so pacey here. If you hook fish, you know, they're going to give you a bit of a runaround. So you want to take control. So I'm going to put 3 maggots on a 14. Just cast that out. Not too far. Always cast it just that little bit further than you need, and then once you've fed, once you do your first mend, it pulls it back onto line, right onto the line you want it on. Yeah, it's a real nice pace through there. Of course, and it shallows up below, you know, before it goes into that next hole, so it's it should get so far and then drag under, I would have thought, but yeah, just dragged under. That's good. Certainly a different day to when we fished it last time. It was absolutely bitter. You can still feel the water's cold. I can feel it through my feet, but it's definitely, you know, I'd say the temperature's up near double figures today with that sun out. It's just nice and simple. Just feed in front of you. Let your Waggler, you know, cast your Waggler, feed, mend the line. Oh, is that a fish? Yes. Look at that straight away. Now, that would suggest that they are actually sat there. Not that they've just moved up here onto that bait. I don't think, well, I've only had like put 4 or 5 pouchfuls in, so I can't see they'd have moved up from a long way. So it could well be that they are in the area. Definitely a chub. Quite often this time of year, first fish is a trout, but no, this is a chub, all right. So that's good. I haven't had to adjust the depth or anything. I've just gone through, second run through. Chub, not a bad one either by the looks. Oh. Lovely. Well, there you go. That's a start, isn't it? Big old bruising chub. He's got all kinds of little marks on him, that one. Good condition, but just looks like he's been in the little wars a little bit over the years. But what's that? That's going to be £3.5, £4. That's a start. I have put a net in today. I just thought, well, if we're going to catch a few, we want to see them at the end. But people do say if you put chub back into a shoal that they spook the rest. I'm not sure. I've never really done enough of, you know, sort of pleasure fishing and not put a net in to know if it makes a difference. But it's what people say. Either way, they won't harm in a net anyway, just for a few hours. So, well, that was well, I say I expected the fish to be here because it was only a week or so ago that we were here in freezing conditions catching chub. So now in a little bit warmer conditions a week or so later, I shouldn't be surprised that they're still here. But I didn't. I was taking a gamble, sort of moving a bit further up from the peg, but looks like I might have read it correctly. Getting down to the bottom now where it should probably drag under. There you go, dragging under there. Nothing that time. It'd be interesting to see how they react to feed as well. You know, I've put sort of 4 or 5 pouchfuls in, caught a fish. You know, will they suddenly back off feed or will they get right on it? So again, cast out, pouch full of bait, mend the line, and you're good to go. The key with the Waggler, I find, is you've got to try and get away with as few mends as you can. So, because if you're constantly mending, you're constantly moving the float, and oh, I think that just dragged there. Yeah, constantly mending the float. So you don't want to You want to draw the float off its line. So as long as you can get a good enough strike in, even if you've got a bit of a bow in the line, as long as you've got a long enough rod and a quick enough strike, quick, hard, fast strike, you can usually hit most bites. It's when you get a real bad downstream wind, and that's when that's when you've got to weigh up what size float you need. If it's a real bad downstream wind or conditions allow a real pacey, then you've got to put a bigger float on. It's as simple as that. And by putting a bigger float on, obviously it will react differently when you mend the line. It won't just pull off line so much. So it's always, no 2 days are the same. And you've always got to be prepared to change and have a selection of floats. But at the moment, this looks perfect. Three swan shot, a few droppers. It starts to drag when it gets down there, so I kind of quite like it when it's like this, because I know it's going to drag. Oh, that's a bite. Yeah, right at the end of the peg. I was going to say, I know it'll drag at the end of the swim, but if it goes under halfway down the swim, I know it's definitely a bite. Not to say I won't start tripping the bottom a bit more later on, but this one don't feel as big, but you never know. That's why you need, ideally you want a good fast action rod for this sort of fishing. I love using 13 foots when I can get away with them. I always used to use 13 foot, but these 14 foot rods are getting so good now that just that extra bit of length makes a world of difference when you're striking and playing fish. It's about a similar size actually. That's in good condition. Got no maggots inside it, so that would suggest that one's only just found the bait. That's two. Well, I don't know how many fish are out there, but it's exactly what I was hoping would happen, is the fact that we found some fish here in horrible conditions a week or so ago, and we've come back in better conditions, and it looks like they're still here, and there's hopefully as many as there's a decent shoal there. Nothing that time. No, there might be a huge shoal out there, but you would never really, even at this time of year, if there was a big shoal, you wouldn't expect it to be dragging the rod in. It's not with the water temperature as what it is. It's still hard winter fishing. We had a great start, but I'd be very surprised if the fish come right up in front of you on the feed, and you're still going to have to work for your bites, varying depths and doing different things like that. And I think I will in a minute, because I'm not dragging through this first sort of 10-15 yards of the peg, so I might just add a little bit of depth on in a minute, just so I know I'm touching bottom. No, nothing there. one more run through at this depth and then we'll put a bit more on. Put 8 inches on that. Let's see what that does. One thing that's important as well when you're fishing like this, when you're fishing a swim where you know it's only, there's a shoal of fish possibly in front of you or below you, you don't want to be feeding too far upstream. You can always adjust. If all the fish you're catching are down there, you can always start adjusting and bring it up, but I always prefer just to feed slightly downstream to start with. Even though those maggots won't sink for quite a way down the peg, fish can have a habit of sitting right under the bait. And if it's too far above you, you'll lose them. And if it's a match conditions, you might lose them to the angler above. So always start off downstream yourself. And that also helps as well with wind. Oh, that's a fish. Right down again. A little bit of extra depth. I wonder if that made the difference then. So often that happens, you know, after making a change to your rig. Just 8 inches of depth on there. And a bite straight away. I can feel it snagging on something. It's either a big fish or it's just hugging the bottom. There's a lot of rocks in here and they will just sit in behind them, you know. Chub, aren't they? That's what they do. They just like being a nuisance. But it makes for good fun. This one's actually swimming upstream. It's more like a barbel than a chub. I'll tell you what, I thought that was going to be a great big one then, the way that was fighting. Still a good size, but similar to the other ones. Beautiful, look at that. Whoa. He is a little bit bigger, he's got a deeper body on it, that one. Oh yeah, that's £5 every day of the week. Just got that deeper body. Tell you what, he wanted that as well. That right down. Just goes to show, just dragging bottom just enabled you to get that fish to get hold of the bait. Just slowed it down a touch. Beauty. Let's put that there. Mainstream, mister. There you go. Well, this is brilliant. Three fish in no time at all. So you know, there is obviously a few there. So we're just going to go with it now and see how many we can catch. See, you know, if we have to change in any way. go, folks. And in a bad way to end up, is it? Beautiful chub like that. Well, there you go. Maybe not as many fish as I'd hoped today, but 7 chub, lost one. It ain't bad, is it, considering the temperature is plummeting again now. So we're going to frost again tonight, so this water temperature still isn't rising. So we're going to let this one go. And yeah, it's been an interesting little afternoon, really, and just goes to show, doesn't it? You know, nice simple approach. Just fed some maggots. I've still got a good pint and a half of maggots left, so I can go again sometime, you know. And that's, for me, is what winter fishing is about. Grab your opportunity while you can, and you know, there's bites to be had. So hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.